April 28, 2020 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. Welcome the members of court and our guests, as well as everybody looking over Facebook Live. We'll begin as we always do with an invocation. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we seek your guidance and your protection over the people of this county and over the decisions of this fiscal court. We appreciate everybody who's working on our behalf to keep us safe, and we pray for all those who are suffering in this very unusual time. Say all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you for your patience. Trying to do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance over Zoom is a new experience for all of us, but I hope it worked out that way. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Masher Berry. Masher Southern.
Here.
Masher Putman. Masher Putman.
Here.
Masher McCollum.
Here.
Masher Moran.
Here.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You have the minutes of the April 14th, 2020 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court in your packets. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other clarifications, corrections, or additions? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, first we have Rob Brown from CAECO, our insurance expert, who's here to give a quick briefing on what we can expect in the coming year and some comments about the year we're just finishing up. Rob, turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Rob. Morning.
This is definitely a new experience for me. This is the first fiscal court for me on Zoom, so it's interesting to see everyone when they speak. They pop up on the screens. I've done a lot of Zooms, but never a fiscal court, so bear with me on it. As I hope that you've seen at this point, we've given you guys the premiums for the coming year. And the good news is that we're glad to bring you a 2% overall decrease in the premiums, which is, I think, by any measure good. When everyone's counting in pennies, that means something. And even better news, this year the CAF program declared a dividend. And if you remember last year, the work comp program did their dividends. So this year it's CAF, and that figure is going to be $18,089 that you all will receive a check for being a member of the program in August of this year. So the total of those two dividends over the past 2 years has been just so you know, has been $41,121. And you all may recall that although several of you all weren't around in the day, in the last 10 years, that adds up to a total of about $78,000 in dividends back to the membership for their continued loyalty and participation in the program. So I think the bottom line is that's a program that's working the way it's supposed to, and trying to find the right balance of coverage, premium, and member equity. So I think you know, I think it's good news. I hope you all feel the same. are there any questions for me on any of it?
I'll say two things. Number one, we appreciate CAECO offering these dividends back to members. It's one of the reasons why CAECO has been very effective for us, because when years are good, we share in the success. When times are a little rougher, we all pool together to help get us through those times. And even more than potential premiums back, I think the level of service we get and the ease with which claims are handled through CAECO are really the true benefit for all of us. We've been through some weird things in the last couple of years. Just had a tornado tear up part of the fairgrounds and the road department compound. So every time that we work with CAECO, as far as I've heard, and work with Rob, it's gone very smoothly, and we're able to recover quickly. And I very much appreciate that about CAECO. They understand county governments and all the functions, weird functions that county governments serve better than any other company we've run across. And if anybody has any doubt about why we're very reticent to leave CAECO, these are good examples. So appreciate Rob. Any other questions about the dividends or any of that information? Anything you want to tell us about what's coming up, Rob?
Well, I think the challenge, or at least the calls we get every day, is about reopening and how the membership is going to try to navigate that whole process of this pandemic. I'm sure you all will have questions around that. We've fielded those with Rich and Temple, and in coordination with the local health departments. So the policy is responded in the cases that we have had related to COVID, and I think it'll continue to do so. And we're here to help in any way. I hope you guys have checked out the, I know Jim sends out at least a weekly update on his emails, but we also have a specific dedicated COVID resource site on the CAECO webpage. So you can go to caeco.org and click on that, and hopefully it'll be a plethora of resources for you all to use.
Thank you, Rob. Any guidance that is collected up as county governments begin to reopen that CAECO can coalesce and then push out, we'd appreciate.
I'll relay that message.
Any other questions of Rob? Again, thank you for your spending time with us, Rob. Thank you for all you do. And if we can help you in any way, let us know.
Guys, thanks for having me, and stay safe.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have in your packets the animal control reports, and Debbie Edwards is with us. She
has joined us on Facebook and commented that Zoom was not cooperating with her.
Zoom was not cooperating with her?
She was on for just a minute.
Well, you do have her reports. If you'll remember, the number we have budgeted for animal control in the coming year was the same number we've had last 2 years. And that was through their request. They considered themselves in good enough condition to ask for the same amount for animal control. And you have their financial statements in your packet. So if you have any questions of Debbie that we can relay to her, just let me know. Any questions at the moment looking at her packet that I might be able to help with? Okay, moving on. Next, we have Jailer Brady on to discuss any of the news from the detention center. Amy, turn it over to you.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's been a wild day here already. You have the quarterly reports. And with that, I know over the past few reports, we've discussed the boilers. I attached a couple of pictures. So I wasn't sure if everyone received those because our boilers that fixed itself, the holding tanks have now started leaking again.
Amy, that's what happens when you use rust as a patch.
I know, sir. It's, whew.
What do we do to get these replaced?
We got some pricing before and they were all outside of what would be, I guess, something we can just go ahead and fix unless it's an emergency situation. Which if starts leaking anymore and our hot water capacity is reduced by half, then it is going to be an emergency situation.
I would say so.
The issue is going to be, like we've said in the past, these boilers were put in the facility and then the roof was put on the jail. So that's everyone's major issue, was getting these out and getting new ones in. I talked to Jay Smith, who was the architect for the building, and he said really and truly one of our better options would be to add on right outside of the boiler room, that back door, and put the hot water tanks there.
Any clue on what that might cost?
No, sir, I don't.
Can we go ahead and take bids on that?
I got online and checked just to see if I could find anyone that's put a bid out or package for hot water for a jail, and I did find a couple of just general options to go by. And Officer Snodgrass and I have a meeting after fiscal court, and we're going to sit down and just kind of look to see what the options are. We discussed inline, but we had inline heaters in our other building, which is the CSC, and they were a constant issue. I think Kurt may remember that. It was, they were out more than they were working because there were so many of them. And then we talked about like Oldham County, they did solar, but our building won't withstand the weight on the roof of what we would need to put up there. So
Amy, you'll move forward with coming up with some solutions.
yes, sir. We're going to have to do something. Other than that, we got a couple of doors that we're going to have to look at replacing. Population of the jail is down significantly, and we're kind of taking advantage of that and doing some much needed painting and replacing light fixtures and things like that right now, upgrading some of the lights, retro over to LED in the cells. Other than that, that's kind of everything on our quarterly report. A lot of the stuff just repetitive, and we'll take it off as we close one project out.
Amy?
Yes, sir.
Have we looked at maybe repairing those tanks?
They said they couldn't be repaired. We've had 4 different vendors in here, and I don't know anything about hot water storage tanks other than
right,
just going to get them and having somebody install them, but they're nickel.
Okay.
And they said that they couldn't be repaired.
And I assume they build pressure as they heat. So
Right.
They have to be rated at a certain, okay.
Yeah, they're, and when we do replace them, we need to go up just a little bit because the size of the tanks was for the original jail, and they've done fine so far, but just to look at the future, you know, we have a lot more inmate capacity than we did. Our capacity is a lot greater than it was when the jail was built, which was what, 233 prisoners when the jail was built.
Amy, do we need to get Smith to give us some architectural renderings of this addition and maybe go out to bids on that too?
He kind of sketched something out. I can talk to him and say, Steve, would that be something that would need a contract again?
Well, architectural services are professional services and are not required to be bid out, but you can do a request for proposals if you want. But that would be if you were looking at someone other than the original architect to do it.
Yeah.
Since he's available, you know, we'd have to go back and re-educate somebody about the whole jail if you did that. Let's go ahead and get him to go ahead and just draw something up. Then he can tell us what we need, and then we'll put that out for bids, and let's get this done.
Yes, sir.
Well, can we look at possibly, and I know you said you looked at inline, can we look at maybe other options other than a boiler so we're not back in this situation in 10, 15 years?
I can talk to Jay and see what other options are available for a facility our size.
Right. I mean, what we might be, I'm just throwing stuff out here, but like maybe a geothermal where they put in a well system that would heat through the ground. I think there may be other options. I'm not saying the boiler is not the best way to go, but I think if we're going to have to do this, we need to look long term. I know that puts more on you. I apologize for that, but
No, it's fine. I'll ask him and see. We're kind of in a sinkhole where we sit next to Canoe Creek, and but I'll talk to Jay and see what the options are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Amy, one more item. You have worked with HMP&L to have some safety lights installed outside. You want to describe that a little bit?
Yes, behind the jail, it's really dark when you do a perimeter check, and I'm not really sure why it's not come up throughout the years, but we have light poles, but we don't have lights on those poles that are around the back of the jail. So the city sent out a gentleman, and he went around and kind of checked lighting and figured out where all we need to have some upgrades and some installs. It's not going to add much to our bill each month, but we really need it for safety and security around the building.
And they've quoted you a monthly rate for those lights?
Yes, I don't have that one.
Kurt says $16 per month per light. Is that right?
That sounds about right. I don't have it. I signed it and sent it out the door.
And HMP&L sent us a very simple little MOA to include that in our bill, $16 per month per light. And I'd like to go ahead and get the court's approval on that simply because we're going to be signing a document saying that's our rate for that. So
I'd motion to approve that. It is terribly dark back there. I've been back there. You've got the trees by the creek, and it's on the south side of the building, and it's just really dark. I would make a motion to do that.
I second.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? The only thing I'd say is, what the heck's Charlie doing behind the jail? But that's for another day.
He's a jail magistrate. He's checking it out.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Amy. Anything else?
No, sir. We've got 19 on the governor's release list that should be released this week. Our population's down significantly, but so far we're staying on top of sanitizing, disinfecting, cleaning, and new intakes as they come in, we're keeping them separated for 2 weeks. So if they stay.
Excellent. Keep up the good work.
Well,
Oh, yeah. Motion to accept the quarterly report from the jailer.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You also have in your packet the sheriff's quarterly report, excuse me, the monthly report. David Crafton from the sheriff's office is with us in the courtroom. Any other thing to add to this, David? No. Make a motion.
Judge, I
approve the
move to
sheriff's
accept.
report.
I move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. You should have received Renesa's County Clerk's report this morning via email.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Gold, any report?
Judge, I don't have a traditional report where we turn over checks. Fortunately, we were able to turn all of those over at the last meeting. We'll say things have been very busy in the county attorney's office, and we are ready for, as the governor issues new orders, easing things up. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions from county departments and things like that about exactly what that means, because it will probably be a more nuanced set of orders that come out rather than what close things down. So we are already preparing and researching, and we're ready to advise county government on all of those things as they come out.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Gold? Appreciate that, Steve. Did want to give you kind of the cleaned up draft version of our 2021 budget. After our discussions at the workshop last week and a couple tweaks that came in afterwards that I think you saw, this is the budget. It is the tweaks we made changed it hardly at all. We still are anticipating over $955,000 that we placed into that contingency line item as we discussed. I will tell you that after we left the workshop, Kurt looked at our memorandum of understanding with the city about the landfill, and in that agreement was a opt-out sentence that said that whichever party wanted to leave the memorandum had to give the other 360 days notice, so a year. I have asked the mayor to waive that, and they're going to be deciding that tonight. They're going to bring it up anyway. We will have to await their decision. If they do not waive it, we will have to take the $200,000 that we had agreed to erase from that line item and put it back there for at least a year. Magistrate Southard, I know that you brought this up, and so afterwards we had to go find out what the memorandum actually said, and that's what it said. So we will, but again, we've asked very nicely if they could waive that 360 days. We'll see what they say, and we'll work from there. So if everybody's in agreement, I'd like to set first reading for next year's budget at the very next fiscal court meeting here in May. Does anybody have any objections to that? And again, we will reflect whatever the city decides in the budget that we have first reading for in May.
Brad, does the city understand they can charge those residents a fee that'll make up any money that they're talking about?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Hey, Judge, I just want to hit on something. I was going through the claims and I'm looking for it right now. I seen there was 2 for about 17,000 for demolition in the claims. If we do carry this out and get away from paying them to 200,000, are all the demolition costs for the dumping, are we going to be paying for that so much a ton?
We already are.
Demolition costs?
Well, I thought they were included in the 200,000 or whatever it is we're paying now.
Well, are you talking about the demolition of condemned buildings?
Correct.
That is a separate line item, doesn't come out of that landfill line item.
That goes into the construction company, whoever's tearing it down.
Yeah.
They pay it.
Yes. Yeah, it's part of their bid.
Actually, most of them have their own construction landfill that they use.
Does that answer your question, Magistrate Putman?
Well, somewhat. I get it about the money. It's a lot of money. I just wonder if we put a pencil to this and see if it's actually going to save anything or if there was any savings to it.
Well, if we do get the forbearance from the city, $200,000 is quite a bit of money, and none of our current demolition fees are counted in that. Usually we include the demolition, the dumping fee after demolition in the bid. And so it takes care of itself. We can add a little bit more money to the demolition line item if you'd like to see that, but the two aren't related.
Well, I know in that deal, it's all of our garbage, I guess, it comes from the jail, the road department, well, any county project we have, it's all included in that 200,000, correct? Plus county people can go out there and dump.
Yes.
I don't know. I more thought about it. I was just wondering what the number was at, what those numbers would look like.
I don't think it will truly impact our costs one way or the other, but we could always leave some money in there if you wanted to.
But we'll have to renegotiate some sort of deal with the city for the jail and whatever it is or whatever they said, I guess, for tonnage wise.
We might have to
be at their
yes.
mercy.
That's true.
I'm not sure, but does the jail use like advanced or someone with a dumpster? I don't know. Amy, you still there?
Yeah. Well, and as Kurt points out, they may already have a contract with a private trash hauler, but they're also in the city as well. But when the road crews pick up items on the side of the road, they take that directly to the dump. So there is a cost there. There could potentially be a cost there.
My point was, we didn't really see any numbers on the thing from the city, or we don't have anything to really base it on as what that future cost is going to be. It's kind of an unknown at this time. I think it'd be smart for us to look at what the possible cost is after the city. Of course, they'll meet tonight, and assuming that they agree to it and we get out of the agreement, it'd be nice to know what we're looking at in the way of cost as to what they're going to set for tonnage wise for the county.
Good point.
And
we will find that
residents.
out.
Yeah.
We will determine that if they are going to waive that clause, we will determine what cost could be before we convene in May, first meeting in May.
Well, my intentions were that we just let the city charge county residents or Vanderburgh County residents or Union County residents or whoever. They pay their fee. They pay for their own garbage there when they bring it up there. Other than that, I wasn't trying to change the agreement with the city about what we pay per tons or anything else. Just that's the only thing I wanted to change.
Me too. That's what
I agree.
We'll try to determine those potential costs.
Yeah. Well, it's not an absolute. We may have to go back and rethink it. I'm saying after we get some numbers on something, we can always go back and maybe rethink it and find out maybe that 200,000 wasn't such a bad deal after all.
Understood.
Possibly. That's all
So
I got, Jared.
before, well, we need to find some numbers, and we'll see what the city does.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions about the draft budget? So we will move forward, and we'll have first reading based partly on the numbers we get back on our costs at the landfill for our first meeting in May. Before we get to Brenda Ryder's report, we have with us on the meeting Mr. Joe Hopper. And at the last meeting, Joe gave us a briefing on the Henderson Emergency Relief Fund, which we made a $100,000 donation to, and he asked if he could come back and give us an update on what has happened since then. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Hopper.
Thank you, Judge Snyder, and thank you to other members of Fiscal Court. And first of all, thank you for what you do. Second, we wanted to circle back with you and say thank you again for the kind and generous offer that the Fiscal Court made as part of the partnership in the Henderson Employee Relief Fund. And also as a thanks to Magistrate McCollum for his kind donation, and County Attorney Steve Gold and his wife Holly for their kind donation. Thank you very much. And to let you know that the monies that you have allocated to the Henderson Employee Relief Fund have been well spent, and they have been spent. To date, we have approximately 615 Hendersonians who have made application to the Employee Relief Fund, and money is still going out. We ceased taking applications, as you may know, last Thursday, albeit there continues to be a few filter in, and I'll address that in a minute. But again, really to thank you, to let you know that the Hendersonians that have received assistance, it's a huge cross-section of this community. You know, it's helped manufacturers, it's helped the food service industries, it's helped sole proprietorships, it's helped everyone, almost as far as we can identify every sector. We would say 90%, approximately 90% of the funds have gone to pay for utilities or rent or mortgage payments. Approximately 10% have gone to assist people in other areas, such as maybe a car payment, maybe some groceries, maybe some insurance, maybe some medical needs. But the money has been spent wisely. Just to let you know that our steering committee stays on top of this. The Christian Community Outreach does one fine job of keeping us posted with the data. There's 14 items that they keep us aware of: who, what, when, and where. They do a great job, and we're assisted by the Henderson Leadership Initiative of vetting and ensuring that these folks have been displaced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And you, as Fiscal Court, should continue to be proud of the community that you serve because of the benevolence of people in this community. The foundations and the corporations, and particularly the individuals, have actually really stepped up beyond what we thought would happen, and we've exceeded our goal of in the Henderson Employee Relief Fund. We kind of ventured into looking at the not-for-profit organizations because of the impact that this pandemic was going to have on their fundraising and the contributions which they have in their annual budget to sustain themselves. We worked collaboratively with the Partnership of Women who are already in a dead run in progress of trying to assist some of these not-for-profits, and we engaged with United Way, and one of our major donors elected to redirect their donation to assist some of the not-for-profits. So you may be aware, I'm not sure, but I think the Partnership of Women have announced that they have donated $68,000 to 16 not-for-profits in our community. And then what we call our not-for-profit organization assistance has donated, because of the benevolence of one of our donors, $50,000 to those not-for-profits which we feel like are assisting and providing emergency assistance currently to those people impacted by the COVID-19 because of unemployment. places like the Salvation Army. And we took a particularly long look at some of the not-for-profits in this $50,000 that will likely, their services will increase in demand. One topic was domestic violence. We're all aware that that's, Charlie, that's Steve, that's going to go up likely exponentially. So we've appropriated some funds over there. So again, a great cross section, money spent. We still have some monies coming in. We are taking a pause. The Employee Relief Fund is taking a pause to see what happens because there's applications that have continued to come in. But again, we've taken a pause and they're going to meet again on Friday to see what our next step is. But we'll certainly keep you posted. But more than anything, to thank you and to let you know that your money has been well spent. And we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Joe?
Just want to thank you, Joe, for everything you've done. It was you provided a great service for the community with the foundation and how you got that funded as well as you did. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Butch. It's easy to step up when it's the right thing to do, just like Fiscal Court and members of the Fiscal Court did. You know, it's the right thing to do. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Joe, thank you for all your help and also all the colleagues you had in putting that together. And good luck with the next month.
We wouldn't want to take up your time, but you know, anytime that you would give us the opportunity, I'd like to name many of those people, particularly the steering committee and these foundations and individuals who have been so generous with their, not only their time, but with their pocketbook. And you've all been around here. There's nobody on there that that's been a key that would surprise you. They're the names. So thanks
it's amazing how this community steps up.
Yeah. Have a great day. Be safe. Stay healthy. Hey, I want to share with you one thing, if I may, Judge, just to my friends here. We were on a call yesterday with the Kentucky State Chamber and the medical professionals across the state on the restart of the medical business and how it's been impacted and how they were prepared. And I won't bore you with all the facts. The one thing that resonated with me personally that I heard is that one hospital, their CEO was on there, and they have 4 locations. And from day one, all of their employees began wearing masks day one. And to date, through all of this, frontline people involved with these, all 4 hospitals, not one of their employees has contracted COVID-19, and they attribute it to, you know, obviously sanitation, but everybody wearing a mask. I thought I'd share that with you.
We're going to get an update from our EMA director, Kenny Garrett, about some of those very topics, PPE and other items. So duly noted. Thank you very much.
Stay safe, y'all. Be healthy. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you,
Joe.
Joe.
With that, we'll turn to Treasurer Brenda Ryder with some fund transfers and claims.
The fund transfers are as presented. These are reallocating appropriations within the existing budget. You have your bank balances with which, after paying claims today, the day-to-day appropriation line should be at approximately 83%. I have one additional claim from the road fund to H&K Outdoor Power in the amount of $11,899. This is for a Skag Turf Tiger mower and is to come from the Parks Equipment appropriation line. Are there any questions regarding claims?
Do we need a motion on the transfers?
We do.
I'd so move.
Second.
A motion and a second on the transfers. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any questions on claims?
Just a couple. on the page 1, the demolition, A1 septic, illegal dump, what, do we know what that was for?
Yes.
Yes, there were 2 illegal dumps that were taken care of. One being Green River Road, and I don't recall the exact address of the other, but you will see some other distributions further back to AA and a couple.
Right.
These are eligible for illegal dump grants. And I believe that Nancy Watkins is in the process of trying to obtain those.
And Magistrate McCollum, in the course of cleaning up that property, the contractor punched through a septic tank that was, nobody was aware that it was there. And they had to clean it up, which is why A1 septic was brought in.
Okay. Do we have any evidence? Is there anybody we can charge with this? I mean, a lot of times people leave their names, information, bills and stuff. Anything we can do with
Yes.
charging?
We do have a lien against the property.
Well, no, I'm talking, is it the individual who owned the property that did this, or is it somebody else that dumped on them?
No, it was our contractor doing the cleanup.
No. I mean, how it originally got dumped there, was it the owner of the property that dumped it there, or did somebody else dump it there?
The septic tank, I'm not sure if who installed that septic tank, but the owner of the property does. Is that what you mean?
No. Did when they were cleaning up the property,
Yes.
was the stuff that was dumped there illegally dumped by the owner himself or herself, or was it dumped by a third party?
No, it was dumped by the owner.
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
It was dumped by the owner.
Okay, so then we're filing a lien back against the house. Okay.
Yes.
On page 3,
Hey, Charlie,
yes.
are you referring to that, the pay on page 407, the $17,042?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was talking about earlier. I was wondering who pays that to dump.
Right.
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. On that same page, we've got 3 zoning board member per diem, but then it's made out to vendor King Deep and Brannaman, and it's listed mechanics liens. What is that all about?
Those are for Attorney Thompson, who files the mechanic liens. He works with Randy Tassa when they go out and evaluate some of these demolitions and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, so he's back with King Deep and Brannaman now, Steve?
Yes, sir. Don Thompson is his name.
Yeah. Okay, well, he had left them for a while, so I just didn't know. Then he was working for Steve, I thought.
He was.
Okay, he's gone. Okay, things changed. I'm sorry. Another one of the questions I had, and sort of if David Crafton's still there, the schools are shut down. Are we getting reimbursed from the school system for the resource officer now?
Yes. He said yes.
Are we using that officer on the roads or something else now?
No, because their duty as SROs are completely reimbursed by the school system in the state. They are not reimbursed for any other work they would do for our sheriff's office.
So in other words, we're paying them not to do anything.
Well, the schools are paying them not to do anything.
That's okay.
If they're getting paid at the moment.
They're still going to do the schools, and they're also doing training online.
David said they're still going to the schools and doing training online. But again, that's all reimbursed by the schools.
Okay. That's all I have. If anybody else has any more questions about the claims.
Any other questions?
No other questions. I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? One thing I will say is if you look at your summary budget that Brenda has given you, we have reached the day in the year that I always look forward to, and that is the day where we have surpassed our budgeted revenue goal. We are now at 101.5% of revenue, which is always a great thing, with 2 months still to go. It's always nice to know that you've reached your revenue budget, and our overall expense number in the entire budget is at 65%. And that's good news too. When you heard, I think the percentage we should be at now is what, 80, what'd you say, Treasurer Roger?
83.
83%. So we're still doing a good job holding the line on expenses. So hopefully the next 2 months will be fairly normal and we will come in good shape with the budget. So thank you very much. Treasurer Roger?
I do have one other thing. I do have the engagement letter from Hunter CPA to do the fiscal court audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. Their price is $18,900, and this is if they have to do a single audit. If not, it will be less than that. And this is awaiting the judge's signature.
I'd like to get a motion to engage our CPA from there. They've done our audit last year, and 2 years ago they did a good job.
They've been
So
good.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. I'm going to have Kenny Garrett give us a quick briefing on current response to COVID-19 and where we stand. And Kenny, are you still with us?
I am. Good morning, everybody. Just if Brent could go ahead and make me the presenter, I'll share my screen and way everybody can see that. While he's doing that, I'll just say that our command staff meets on a daily basis to discuss current status of things happening within the city and the county, so we can stay on top of any potential issues that may come up. I do daily sit reps now that most of you have probably already seen, and I just sent a new one out just a few minutes ago, so you should have that in your email. One of the biggest things, I guess, today is, I'm going to slide down here just a little bit, is the chance of some pretty good rain that we got coming in later on today and overnight, with some even potential storms. It should be in here sometime between 10 p.m. and around 4 a.m. So if you don't have your weather radios charged up and batteried up, I'd suggest everybody do that. We still have to watch the weather, even though we're going through all this COVID stuff. Beyond that, you talked about PPE earlier, and I don't know if anybody's got specific questions about PPE, but I'll entertain those as well. Right now, we've got a really good system in place for making sure that all of our county and city responders have the adequate amounts of personal protective equipment that they need, whether it's masks and gloves and face shields and coveralls and things like that, to make sure that we all protect not only ourselves but everybody that we come in contact with, because a lot of people think that the mask is to protect yourself, when actuality you need to consider yourself as infected until we get an all clear to the point where we know that that we're not going to infect someone else, because we can't see this thing, therefore we don't know. Beyond that, that's just something we're going to have to live with for a while. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that as things calm down, those restrictions will get eased on us as well.
Any questions of Kenny?
Kenny, I seen on the news last night new symptoms that they're starting to see, that most of the people that actually had other symptoms, as far some didn't even have a fever but still tested positive. It was shakes, lack of. So can we expect this to just keep evolving until I mean or do they think they're finally getting a grip on the symptoms and what's causing it?
Well, I think as more and more of these things happen and you get more and more infections and they do the interviews, the out processing and things like that, they're going to try to determine that level of mutation that happens. I mean, it could change. I mean, they're talking about muscle aches and
right.
things like that weren't really part of the initial round of 3 symptoms that we were all told. So that way we can all be more aware of what's going on, so that if we get the ability to do those kinds of tests, after the fact, to find out if those of us who may have had some of those symptoms and recovered from it, if we could find out if we've got those antibodies and are able to possibly be immune, the next time around, maybe later this fall or even this winter, if this thing comes back around and gets us again.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
I want everybody to know that myself, representatives of the city, well, the mayor, in fact, and several business owners and managers from across the cross-section of our business community have formed a kind of reopening committee that's also going to try to be in sync with Evansville as far as a schedule of reopening. Following the CDC guidelines that the governor has adopted for reopening, we're going to be working to develop plans to help a step-by-step reopen process that we are not yet close to instigating, of course. The governor helped direct some healthcare facilities and healthcare options to reopen on Monday, but I think we're still a ways away from a lot of business sectors being able to reopen. And if you're familiar with the CDC guidelines, the primary one is to go 2 weeks with either flat or lessening numbers of positive cases and deaths and other metrics. In Kentucky, I believe, is close to that, but not yet. And certainly in Henderson County, as testing becomes more available, we're seeing an uptick in positive tests. And hopefully that won't be true of deaths, but we are still seeing an increase. And so we have to see what the state's going to do. We've gotten word that the state will probably reopen regionally and not all at once, depending on testing results. I think, Kenny, would you agree that's the word you've got so far?
Yes, sir. I do agree with that.
Yeah. And again, we're going to be trying to sync up with Evansville, because if we don't, since we share workforces, thousands of people crossing into those communities every day, it won't make much sense to have one set of rules on one side of the river and another set of rules on the other side. So we're going to try to hook up with them. They've made a request of Governor Eric Holcomb in Indiana to begin the process of reopening, or at least be on the forefront of that in Indiana. We'll see what we can do with Henderson and perhaps Davis County. Please stay tuned on that. Before we go to Gooding County, I have a couple board appointments I need to make to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Both incumbents Jonathan Dixon and Kenny Perkins have told me they want to serve again, and their current terms are up, and they've been good members of the board and have the full support of the rest of the board members. So I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Jonathan Dixon and Kenny Perkins to the County Board of Zoning Adjustment.
So move.
Motion and second. Any questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Finally, we have a seat that's going to come open on the City County Planning Commission. It's my appointment. And Stacy Denton, who is co-owner of Blue Moon Stables, a longtime county resident, small business owner, agritourism expert in the county, and I think a former employee at Brentag, where she was a chemist, that has followed her dream of owning a stables and riding center, and also hosts Healing Reigns, which is a great nonprofit effort, has agreed to serve. Younger voice, different perspective. So I'd entertain a motion to approve Stacy Denton for the planning.
So moved. So
Second.
moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Now we'll go to the good of the county, and I'll start it off with Magistrate Barry.
I get to go first. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah.
Thank all the court members. Everything's good in District 1, I believe. I've had a chance to work with Bill on a couple of things out there, and we've had weather to allow that. So, I think everything's pretty good. District 1, that's all I have.
Thank you, Magistrate Moran.
I'd like to thank everybody that's worked so hard, the first responders and everybody. Again, we couldn't do all this without them. And just hang in there, and everything's well in District 2.
Magistrate Putman.
Thank you, Judge. Ditto on the same comments Beth just said about giving thanks to all those first responders and all the medical professionals that are taking care of business and trying to keep us all healthy. Staying around the house is getting kind of old. But other than that, I'm going to say all is good in the fourth, Judge. Thanks.
Thank you. Magistrate McCollum.
I'd like to thank everybody and thank Brad and Kenny and everybody that's worked so hard to try to keep our county as safe as possible. My overseer has a birthday today, so I'm probably going to get a day off. She will not let me go anywhere without her. She doesn't trust me for some reason. So she's been my shadow. So, but looks like I got the day off. But everything is good in the fifth. And Kenny, could we find a place for a shortwave radio? Is Kenny still there? I'll talk to him later then. I may have something that he could use. So thank you all, and everything's good in the fifth. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy birthday to Deb McCullum. Please pass along our well wishes.
Thank you.
And Magistrate Southern.
I'd like to first off thank you, Judge, for helping with the Highway 136 down here. Unfortunately, the state of Kentucky has 2 gravel roads, and my district has one of them, and it's right along the river, and it gets substantial damage every time the river comes up, and we've had several of those this year. And the judge assisted me and others to get some help on getting it opened up where we can get to the croplands, and it's not good, but it is passable now, so I do appreciate it very much. And with that being said, we've got another river coming, another 35-foot backwater coming up, so it will get some of our county roads for sure. And the county road department, I want to thank y'all. Y'all have been great as far as getting our roads graded and things are looking pretty good on the county side for sure. And all's good in District 3.
Thank you, Magistrate Southern. And this is the time of year where you kind of play chicken with the river.
Yeah.
It's a judgment call as to how much you can do, but risk getting it flooded out and having to do it all over again. But if you wait too long, it doesn't help the farmers. And so I'm glad you're going to be patient. You know, we're going to try to make some calls with some rock. Please ask all your farming colleagues to be patient as well. I know this is the time of year when they're really ready to get going, and some of them are in the middle of it right now. So hang in there, and we hope the river stays low, or at least low enough. Mr. Gold.
Judge, I just want to say that I'm always very impressed with how well the Henderson County government works as a team. I get asked by people from around the state a lot of times about, well, how was Henderson able to do this or do that? And I tell them the answer is simple. It's teamwork. It's amazing what you can get done when everybody's rowing in the same direction. And that's something that I think is really impressive, not just about all of Henderson County government, but this fiscal court as well. So thank you all for that. I think that direction we're all rowing in is the best interest of Henderson County residents. And that's something that I feel really proud to be a part of. So thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. And in that vein, we're beginning to work with the local departments here who had to basically close down to in-person traffic because of the directions of the governor, to figure out ways to begin to reopen when that word comes down, and how to best handle in-person traffic, considering that initially we're still going to have to observe a lot of safety precautions, including social distancing, masking, things like that. The county attorney's office is actually set up fairly well with some plexiglass barriers that they can use to create that separation. The county clerk's office is going to take a little bit more work in that regard, and I'm working with Renisa to try to figure out cough shields and things like that for her folks who sit up at the counters and help the public. We're a ways away from that yet, but I want you to know we're thinking about that now and trying to work on how we can make it as safe as possible. Same is true with PVA's office and the sheriff's office, although some of those are set up to more easily handle that. The jail is doing a great job of keeping their facility clean and COVID free. We all need to pray that that continues. COVID outbreak in our jail would be very difficult to deal with, but I admire the job they've done so far. You might have seen on Facebook where Riverview Coal, their engineers who have been kind of idled lately because of the coronavirus outbreak, decided to put their talents to work making face shields, fabricating them at their facility, and then donating them. And we got several from them for our detention center yesterday, and we may get more soon. That helps keep our jail staff safe and also protects inmates. And face shields, like a lot of PPE, are harder to come by right now because everybody needs them. So having Riverview just donate those was quite a nice benefit. So thank you to them. There's Kim Humphrey from Riverview Coal and I trying out those face shields. Actually quite comfortable and bigger than I thought. They do a good job of covering your whole face. So for the safety of our team out at the detention center, I'm very glad to have gotten those. We are all very wary of what could happen next as we begin to reopen. We know that it's going to take a while, I'm sure, for people to be truly confident in going about, but for our business community and just the health and well-being of our citizens, I'm looking forward to being able to ease our restrictions and get people out of the house and back towards a more normal life. But I think we still have to be patient. There's a lot of unknowns still. The governor has some tough choices to make. I'm sure he's very concerned about doing the right thing at the right time. I don't envy his position. So we'll work together to work with the state and Evansville, as I said, to try to create a good solution here. And we'll be talking about that more in May. But with that, I will entertain a motion again to adjourn from this very unusual Zoom meeting that I think we're beginning to get better at. And I hope to see you all soon. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All of those in favor can sign off.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.